Chodesh Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi, Masechet Bava Kamma. We are up to Perek Chet, Mishnah Gimel. Today's Mishnayot should be Le'elu Nishmat, Neria ben Svetlana, Ranbai, Eliyahu ben Burcha Israelov, Chana bat Miriam, Sason ben Rai, and Yoshua ben Shifra, Menuchatam began Eden, Amen, and Le'avdi ben Chaim Lechaim, v'derefua Shelemav, Daniel Shalom ben Rosa, B'tok Shah Chulei Israel, and Nachlama Merav Benyamin, Or Tzion Chai ben Dvorah. The first part of this Mishnah is based on the following laws. A person who hits his parent and causes bleeding or bruising is liable to the death penalty, as it says in Mishnayot Masechet Sanhedrin, chapter 11, Mishnah 1. And B, a person who hits anyone on Shabbat and causes bleeding or bruising is liable to the death penalty, but not if he does so on Yom Kippur. Wounding a living creature is a melacha, a work that is forbidden on Shabbat and other holy days. One who performs melacha on Shabbat is liable to the death penalty, but one who does so on Yom Kippur is liable to karet. The Mishnah begins, Hamaket aviv et imo velo asa behem chabura. If someone hits his father or his mother but does not inflict a wound upon them, meaning he does not draw blood or even make a bruise, v'chovel b'chavero b'yom kippurim, or if someone wounds another on Yom Kippur, chayav b'chulan, he is obligated to pay all of them, meaning all the 5 payments: damage, pain, healing, loss of employment, and embarrassment. Although the rule is that someone who becomes subject to a death penalty and a monetary obligation at the same time is exempt from the monetary obligation, like we spoke about earlier in chapter 3, Mishnah 10, that rule does not apply in these cases. In the first case, the attacker is not subject to a death penalty because he did not cause bleeding or bruising, and in the second case, he is not subject to a death penalty because he made the wound on Yom Kippur as opposed to Shabbat. Therefore, there is no reason to exempt him from his monetary obligations. Although Melachan Yom Kippur is punishable by karet, according to this Tana, that punishment does not exempt a person from monetary payments. Another law about the 5 payments, Hachovel be'eved ivri chayav bechulan, one who wounds a Hebrew servant is obligated to make all the payments, chutz min hashevet bizman shu shelo, except for loss of employment, when the servant is his, since it is his own loss that his servant is unable to work. If he wounds someone else's Hebrew servant, he pays the loss of employment to the servant's master, and the other 4 payments to the servant himself. Hachovel be'eved Kenani shelachim chayav bechulan, one who wounds a Kenanite slave who belongs to others is obligated to make all the payments, because wounding a Kenanite slave is like wounding a free man. All the payments are made to his master with the exception of healing, which is made to a doctor to heal the slave. Now the next Tana disagrees on one point. Rabbi Yehuda says, En la'avadim boshid, Kenanite slaves have no payment for embarrassment. One who injures a Kenanite slave is not obligated to pay for embarrassment, but only for the other 4 losses: damage, pain, healing, and loss of employment. Now the commentaries explain the verse that speaks of the payment for embarrassment states in the book of Dvarim, chapter 25, verse 11, if men fight one another, a man against his brother, etc. The word brother implies that the verse refers to someone who can achieve brotherhood with Jews, since Canaanite slaves and slave women cannot marry ordinary Jews, like it speaks about in Masechet Kiddushin, chapter 3, Mishnah 12. Rabbi Yehuda rules that one who embarrasses a Canaanite slave is exempt from this payment. Now the first Tana, however, holds that a Canaanite slave is considered a brother because he is obligated in most mitzvot, and the Rav does tell us, Ven Rabbi Yehuda, the Halakha does not follow the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Therefore, you would have to pay even the payment of embarrassment to a Canaanite slave. And that is in a Mishnah Gimel. Mishnah Dalet begins, Cheresh shoteh v'katan p'kiyatan ra'ah. Fighting with a deaf mute, an insane person, and a minor is always harmful to a person because either way he loses. Hachovel be'en chayav. If someone wounds them, he is obligated to make the 5 payments. V'hem shechavlu b'achim peturin. But if they wound others, they are exempt from making any payments because they are not responsible for their actions. Even after the minor becomes an adult or the deaf mute or insane person is cured, he remains exempt from liability for the damage he caused, since he was not responsible for his actions at the time of the attack. However, someone who wounds these mentally incompetent people is liable for all the 5 categories, or some of them depending on the victim. A deaf mute receives all 5 payments, even loss of employment because he is capable of working. An insane person is paid for damage, pain, and healing, but not for loss of employment because he is incapable of working, and not for embarrassment because he does not experience shame. A minor too suffers no loss of employment, but depending on his age and maturity, he can feel shame. Ha'eved va'isha p'giyatan ra'a. Similarly, fighting with a Canaanite slave or a married woman is always harmful. Ha'chovel ben chayav. If someone wounds them, he is obligated to make the 5 payments. V'hem shechavru ba'achim peturin. But if they wound others, they are exempt from making any payment because they have no money of their own with which to pay. Anything acquired by a Canaanite slave automatically becomes the property of his master. A wife does keep her own property, but her husband has the right to use it, and she cannot deprive him of that right by selling it or by using it to pay a monetary obligation. Aval mishalmin la'achar zman. However, they must pay afterward. Nitgarsha isha nishtachar ha'eved chayvin neshalem. Meaning, if the woman is later divorced or widowed, or the slave is freed, and then they have property of their own, they're obligated to pay for the damage they did while married or enslaved. The Canaanite slave and a married woman are obligated to pay for the damage they cause. Unlike a deaf, mute, insane person and minor, they are exempt only because they have no property available. Therefore, as soon as they gain property, they must pay. Now, at the time of the injury, the court assesses the 5 payments and gives the victim a written record of them so that he will be able to collect from the Canaanite slave or the woman when he or she has the means to pay. And that is the Nabotai of today's Mishna Yomi. Everybody should have a Chodesh Tov Mevorach. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen v'amen.